I'm commenting on this even though it's unlikely that they will survive, because it is the kind of attitude of the current Liberal Party of Canada that needs to be exposed. Turns out that pre-budget consultations for the 2025 federal budget of Canada includes two recommendations. One, to remove the privileged status of advancement of religion as a charitable purpose, and the second one, to no longer provide charitable status to anti-abortion organizations. Now, I'm not sure how much money that would save or earn the government, but I do know that 40% of charitable organizations in Canada are faith-based. Removing charitable status from these groups would cripple these agencies' ability to continue offering essential services that, frankly, the government cannot provide. So, please, Canadians, pay closer attention to what our government is doing, and if there are any members of Parliament listening, please, with the next government, if these recommendations are still in place, please vote against them, abandon them, and stop the condescending and patronizing and, frankly, ignorant attitudes that target, destabilize, and harm faith-based organizations. I'm Deacon Pedro, and this is the Salt and Light Hour. Hello and welcome to an all-new Salt and Light Hour. I'm Deacon Pedro, and sitting here with me is Sister Marie Paul Curley. Sister, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, as always.
As always, and I'm wondering, I don't know if you know, but like a month ago, we had like 4 feet of snow that we
I was there.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's when you were here. Yes, you were. That's right. Exactly.
That was my winter snow, because
that was your winter snow in
Boston.
Toronto. That's right. And okay, so all that snow is gone.
Yes. Oh, really? Oh, wow. So the temperatures dropped and
well, it's like I always feel like it's this time of the year is like the battle of good versus evil. It's like the cold versus the warmth, and it's up and down. So it'll go up to like it'll be like 20 degrees one day, and then it's down to 5 degrees the next day. And then it's been raining, so that helps melt a lot of the snow.
We've been all over the place here in Boston. We've had really cold weather. We had flurries. We've had rain. I think actually they're predicting rain with flurries in a couple of days.
Yeah, we had a bit of flurries today.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. But it's generally speaking, it's warmer than it was a month ago.
It is.
And I'm very happy about that. I am definitely a spring person.
Yes,
and it's summer and fall.
it's very clear that the days are getting longer. There's more light, right?
Yes.
So, and I don't know if you know, but that's where the word Lent comes from.
Oh,
from the Germanic word for lengthening, because the days are getting longer. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Thank you for that.
Well, you heard it here first.
I did. I'm going to share that with the other nuns. They're going to love it.
Lengthen. The days are getting longer, so that's something to. Sometimes we forget Lent. It's all about penance and this, but a part of Lent has to do with the fact that, yes, the days are getting longer, so we're actually getting closer to our destination.
Yes.
There you go.
I love it.
Got to listen to the Salt and Light Hour and learn all these great things. Sister, today we're going to be hearing from Marie-Claude Lalonde of Aid to the Church in Need, Canada. And she's going to be telling us a bit about the situation in Pakistan. So again, these are things that are never in the news, but there's been issues with Christians being persecuted in Pakistan and with the blasphemy laws, etc. But she also says that she has some good news coming out of Pakistan. So that's worth sticking around to listen to Marie-Claude Lalonde of Aid to the Church in Need in about 5 minutes. Something good coming out of Pakistan. And then, Sister, you are going to tell us about a film.
An Oscar winner.
Oscar winner.
Yes, from Latvia.
Okay.
I think that gave it away, but that's okay.
Okay. Oscar winner from Latvia in 15 minutes, Windows to the Soul with Sister Marie Paul Curley. And then in our second half hour, so last time you were on the program, I asked you if you pray the Rosary, not to put you on the spot, but you said you did.
Yes, absolutely.
So did you know that the Rosary, other than being a very important spiritual exercise, I hate to call it exercise, it also has great healing, physiologically healing powers?
Yes, I have heard that. Yes.
Yes. Well, we're going to hear about it more today because I'm going to be speaking with an author, Gary Jansen. I don't know if you've ever come across his name.
Yes. Yes.
He's just published a book called The Healing Power of Praying the Rosary.
Wonderful.
And I mean, obviously, it's a book about the Rosary, but he very much goes into the physiological healing and effects that prayers like the Rosary, and not just meditation, but prayers, repetitive prayer, meditation, as well as other things that come with praying the Rosary, have on our bodies. And
Well, we're praying to our mother, our Heavenly Mother. It makes sense that she'd be nurturing and healing us. Yeah.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, I like that. So not just spiritual, but physiological healing powers of the Rosary in about 35 minutes with author Gary Jansen. And then I think you know who Will Hickl is, singer-songwriter. So we're going to be speaking with Will Hickl. He is behind, our listeners might remember, we've been talking about the Novum Collective off and on in the program, or various artists that belong to the Novum Collective. So Will is the person behind the Novum Collective, a group of Catholic artists that come together to collaborate on different projects. And they have a few new collaborations that Will wants to tell us about, including, and you told me about this, an app.
Yes.
The new Theo app.
Yeah.
So if people want to find out about this new app, and as well as learning what's happening with the Novum Collective, they should stick around. We're going to be listening to some of their music. They have some really good praise and worship, like adoration type music. So we're very excited to be playing some of that today. So if people are not going to be around to listen to the whole show, very easy. They can always listen to the program on our website, slmedia.org. You can also listen to on the Salt and Light Plus app and anywhere you get your podcast. So why don't we start with a song? So this is from the Novum Collective album, Live in Louisville. Here's Eric Wilkes with his song, My Strength.
Here with me, you are all I want to see. You will never leave. You are here with me. There's nothing standing in the way. Let all else fade away. I find myself in your embrace. You'll fight my battles all my days. Your presence is my strength. I find myself in your embrace.
It's all around Jesus, all around, it's all around Jesus.
I will not live in fear. Oh God, for you are here. All around, you're all around, Jesus. All around, you're all around, Jesus. Lord, I will stand my ground. Jesus, your grace abounds. All around, it's all around, Jesus. All around, it's all around, Jesus. I will not live in fear. Oh God, for you are here. All around, you're all around, Jesus. All around, you're all around, Jesus. Lord, I will stand my ground. Jesus, your grace abounds. All around, it's all around, Jesus. All around, it's all around, Jesus. There's nothing standing.
We're listening to the Novum Collective featuring Eric Wilkes with My Strength from the Novum Collective worship album live in Louisville. And we're going to be speaking with Will Hickl of the Novum Collective in about 35 minutes, so stay tuned. And now it's time for Where God Helps with Marie-Claude Lalonde from Aid to the Church in Need Canada. Marie-Claude, welcome back to the Salt and Light Hour.
Thank you.
So Pakistan, again, another country that we don't hear much about in the news.
Yes, really, we don't hear much about Pakistan, but there are difficulties for religious minorities over
Okay.
there. Just to give you an example, I just learned of a 22-year-old man who was attacked because his supervisor asked him to convert to Islam and he refused.
His
So
supervisor. Oh,
his
wow.
supervisor at work. Yes. So he's now in the hospital. The supervisor has been arrested, but there are also accusations that this young Christian man, Wakas Masi is his name, that he desecrated pages of the Quran. So there will be a huge investigation by the police. But this is quite typical of what we see in Pakistan and the regular outbursts of violence that we can see here and there. Yes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I remember, and I'm sure that some of our listeners will remember several years ago, Asia Bibi, and she had been, went through that whole trial with the blasphemy law. So these blasphemy laws are actual laws that exist in civil court in Pakistan, or these are Islamic courts?
It's criminal court.
It is criminal
we
court.
talk about blasphemy law, but these are articles included in the criminal code. Yes.
Really? And so then can you explain that a little bit for our listeners? The blasphemy law allows, so how does it work?
Yes, the blasphemy law is like twofold. One is you cannot insult the prophet. And the other one is against the Quran. If you tear apart pages of the Quran or burn the Quran, and these infractions, well, you can go to jail, but you can be sentenced to death. And that's exactly what Asia Bibi went through.
Yes, exactly. Now, it sounds like this young man that you were just telling us about, it's a little different. So his supervisor at work would have demanded that he convert to Islam?
Yes, that's the story that his parents recounted.
Okay.
That was the case. So the whole problem started with the supervisor, but probably now that he spoke out, there are accusations of blasphemy, and
Exactly.
it's unfortunately it's sometimes a way in Pakistan, to solve your problems with your neighbors, with some former friends, and in this case between an employer and an employee.
Right. And now, can you remind also our listeners it's obviously Christians are a minority in Pakistan, but do we have a sense of what the population is?
Well, it's 2% of the population that are Christians, all denominations alike, and 96% are Muslims. And I think it's important to say that the Islam is the state religion in Pakistan. Although we say everybody is free to practice their religion, it is also stated that it is the religion of the state, and therefore both the state and certain groups of Muslims, not all Muslims, they're not all the same, but some groups of Muslims can be dangerous for the minorities, not only Christians, but minorities in general.
Okay, so then that could explain why a law like the blasphemy law can be embedded in the criminal code. But not all news coming out of Pakistan are bad news, right, Marie-Claude?
No, exactly. Well, 10 years ago, we had bad news about a young man, a 20-year-old Akash Bashir, who was killed in a suicide bomber attack in a Catholic church. And what we need to know is that by giving his life, literally, he saved hundreds of churchgoers on that day. There was also an Anglican church on the same street, and it was also attacked almost simultaneously. It resulted with 14 dead, 78 wounded, but now the result of that is that Akash Bashir is seen as a hero, as a martyr, and viewed as a saint. I met his parents when I was in Pakistan.
Oh, really?
Yes, fantastic people. And we were talking about that he might become a saint. And his mom looked at me and said, "Oh, I don't mind what Rome says. We know."
Oh, of course. Of
And
course.
now his cause is in the hands of Rome to decide what will happen. He is now called a servant of God because the first stage has been done, but he might become a saint in a few years. We don't know how long the process will take. And he is a great source of inspiration and courage. And he is seen as a hero, not only by Christians, but by Muslims alike, because he really gave his life to save other people's lives. So, I think as pilgrims of hope, we have to see in stories like that amidst difficulties, there can always be a ray of sun shining, a bit of hope. And that's what he is for his community.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a good news story. Of course, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of Christians, and but there's always something good that comes out. And now especially Pakistani Christians have an intercessor for them in heaven, because his mother says that she knows that he's already in heaven. But what a great testimony to have the Universal Church declare him as a saint.
And people are already asking for his intercession and praying. Some stories have emerged of
miracles.
Miracles, but we will leave it up to Rome to decide.
Yes, and if I believe martyrs only need the one miracle instead of the two, so I'm sure that he will be beatified before we know it. Thank you, Marie-Claude, for telling us about Akash Bashir, someone to keep looking at and following that story. We will follow it for sure on this program. Thank you for that good news, and we'll talk to you next month.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Marie-Claude Lalonde is the National Director of Aid to the Church in Need Canada. You can find out more at acn-canada.org, and in the United States, churchinneed.org.
Hey everyone, I'm Grace Lee, and you're listening to the Salt and Light Hour with Deacon Pedro.
You can watch Salt and Light Television and listen to the Salt and Light Hour on our streaming app, Salt and Light Plus. You can download it at your favorite app store. And now it's time for Windows to the Soul with Sister Marie Paul Curley, who's still sitting here with us, ready to tell us about a Latvian.
That's right, film.
Oscar winner.
Yes.
Okay.
When I heard that Flow that won the Best Animated Feature Oscar, I was like, I have to see this film.
Okay.
I was not able to see it before the Oscar awards were given out, but it is brilliant on many levels. It's a story. I mean, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's the story of a young cat whose world floods and how the cat survives. And it's told entirely from this little black cat's point of view.
Okay.
The cat ends up jumping to an old sailboat, which just happens to be floating by, where another animal has taken refuge, and eventually a number of animals find refuge on the sailboat, all of whom need to learn how to at least tolerate each other or work together in order to survive. So when I say this film is brilliant, I mean on many levels. The animation is brilliant. The colors are amazing. The storytelling is brilliant. There is no dialogue. They do not anthropomorphize.
Okay, so they don't speak.
The animals don't speak.
Okay, good.
This is not one of those cutesy
Good.
films.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't like those.
It's truly brilliant how it was done. Now, the Latvian filmmaker, and I'm hoping I can say his name correctly, Gint Zabaludas, has really created a true masterpiece here. I practiced that, and that did not come out right. Visually, this animation is beautiful. So it's interesting how he did it. The characters, the animal characters, are like, I don't know if you've ever seen those paint by numbers that are really exquisitely done. They're super detailed, and everything looks very flowy. Well, that's what the animated characters look like. And so they're just gorgeous. And then the backgrounds, though, are so detailed they could practically be photos, but of beautiful scenery. So it's just brilliant. It's just a joy to watch. But because the storytelling is done so creatively, it's visuals, it's action, it's music, it's animal noises. I understand. I read in an article somewhere that the sound people went and recorded the real animals. So that they could have the real animal noises on the film. And then you've of course got the nonverbal gestures and expressions of the animal characters, but they don't super anthropomorphize them even in their expression. For the most part, the little cat looks like a little cat with the ears going down when it's scared, and the body language and everything. So the cadre of animals that end up on this little boat that's falling apart are from all over the world. There's the South American capybara, which I had not heard of, but which many of the sisters told me about. So now I am informed that a capybara is a large rodent.
It's like a big rabbit without ears.
It's like a big guinea pig. And
it's like a big guinea pig. Yes.
And they're supposed to be like the friendliest animals on the planet. So they're from South America, but there is also a bird. It looks like a secretary bird, which is only in Africa. And then there's a ring-tailed lemur. Actually, there's lots of ring-tailed lemurs who are native to Madagascar. And then you've got the Labrador Retriever, who is just really, I mean, I'm like 99.9% sure this is a Labrador Retriever. It's so acts like a Labrador Retriever. It always wants to play. So these animals, which are really natural enemies, except for maybe the capybara, eventually learn to work together in order to survive. And they don't just learn to work together. They actually are kind to each other. So in the sense that, I mean, animals can actually do things for each other or for people. You know, we have dogs that will go fetch something for the owner or whatever. So there's a little bit of, these animals are a little smarter than a typical cat or capybara, but otherwise it's just really well done, and delightful to watch. It's easy to get distracted, however, because the film is told entirely from the cat's point of view. We don't know why this world is flooding. We don't know where the humans are, because it's obvious that humans were there but are no longer. There's remnants of human civilization everywhere. We don't know where the people have gone or why did the flood come. Even are there other cats in the world? We don't know any of this because the little black cat starts off all by itself. So these are interesting questions, but they detract or can distract from what the filmmaker really wants you to do, which is pay attention to this little cat's transformation from being very fearful and wary and even hostile towards other animals into being a real companion and support, even rescuing other animals, and or just showing compassion. So it's a really, it goes along with Laudato Si, the encyclical letter of Pope
Yeah.
Francis on the environment, in the sense that you get this really strong sense of how beautiful the world is, how precious life is, and how precious the environment is, and how important it is to save it from destruction. Those big questions aren't answered, but they are certainly brought forward for us to think about.
Okay.
So it's a powerful allegory, but also fun to watch. I think any children who kind of like animals, they don't need to like cutesy animals, because there's not a whole lot of cute factor here. There's a lot of fun, but not cutesiness. If they're able to tolerate some peril, because the floods are very dangerous and there's other things that happen, there's a big whale-like creature at some point in the film. If they can tolerate a little peril, I think this is a good family film for the whole family to see and talk about.
Okay.
It really promotes a lot of reflection and discussion. So I think families would enjoy it. It has
That sounds fascinating. Yeah, I'm intrigued by what you said about, because this is the kind of thing that would distract me, is the questions about, where are the humans, or why is there a flood? And you're saying that that's not addressed.
It's not addressed at all. And
do
I
you think it's intended that these are questions that should be pondered?
I think so.
Because
it's
the world is being destroyed, or not?
It's that whole background of the film is this threat to the world, and the threat to these lives that you see are precious. I mean, it's a little cat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how fond you are of cats. They're not my favorite.
Not at all.
they're not
at all fond of pets.
And they're not my favorite animal either. No. But you see how hard it works to live, and the preciousness of its little life. And so these questions, I think it helps you reflect by not even focusing on them when you walk away. You're just kind of pondering it. There is one scene that could have some spiritual meaning as well, in addition to simply looking, just very spiritual, to look at the preciousness of life and the preciousness of our world. But you're left your own conclusions, what really happened. And I like that open-endedness in a film.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I sounds fascinating, and I'm very much intrigued. So I'm going to go watch it. Where can I watch it?
You can watch it pretty much anywhere. You can rent films from.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's called Flow. FLOW. Flow in English. Flow.
Yes.
And it should be easy to find, because you said it won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature.
Yes.
From a Latvian director. Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for telling me about that. I'm gonna on the weekend go watch a movie. Sounds like a good one to watch.
I hope you enjoy it.
And it's all for the whole family. Okay, Flow, FLO. Thank you, Sister Marie Paul. Thank you.
You're welcome. And everybody's in my prayers as we continue through the second half of Lent, I guess.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that. Sister Marie Paul Curley is with the Congregation of the Daughters of St. Paul, and you can read her blog at windowstothesoul.wordpress.com, and you can also follow her at Sister M. Paul. Coming up in our second half hour, the healing power of the Rosary with Gary Jansen, and singer-songwriter and music producer Will Hickl of the Novum Collective. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Salt and Light Hour Part 2. I'm Deacon Pedro. I guess most of you would agree that praying the Rosary strengthens our relationship with Christ through His Blessed Mother. But what if I told you that praying the Rosary also enhances our mental and physical well-being? Author Gary Jansen, in his latest book, The Healing Power of Praying the Rosary, shows that the Rosary can reduce anxiety and stress and provides resilience in the face of life's struggles. And to tell us more, I am now joined by Gary Jansen. Gary, welcome to the Salt and Light Hour.
Hey, Deacon Pedro. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Good to see you.
It's good to meet you. how did you come to realize that the Rosary was more than just a spiritual exercise, if I can call it that?
Really through practice and experience, and partly a big part of it is that I work as an editor. And so over
Mhm.
the years, I've gotten to work with a number of medical doctors. And
Okay.
in the type of work that I do, many of these doctors are very much interested in how meditation and meditative practices
Mhm.
can enhance health, right? And so there's been a number of studies really in the last decade, maybe the last 15 years, that really prove that meditative practices, meditation itself, helps to lower anxiety,
Mhm.
helps to lower blood pressure, can help to lower heart rate, and can also help to reset the endocrine system, help to reset the vagus nerve, which is a really important nerve inside of our body.
Right.
And it can really kind of take us out of a fight and flight
Mm.
experience and into more of a rest and restoration experience. And when we do that, when we practice those practices,
Mhm.
they've seen in studies that there's changes to people's physiology, there's changes to their blood levels, and there's changes to their immunity. And so I became really fascinated with that, and then just started exploring. Well, the Rosary itself is a meditative practice.
Yes.
Catechism talks about it.
Mhm.
It's a form of meditation and prayer. And so, really, the book looks to explore Rosary really kind of as a spiritual practice, mainly a spiritual practice, one where we're connecting with Christ. But there's really great benefits, healing benefits
Right.
that come as a byproduct from the prayer and the meditation itself.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you mentioned some of the physiological effects, reducing blood pressure, et cetera. Because I was going to ask you about that, but just to be clear, so you're not saying, like, you're not reducing the Rosary to just a meditative exercise.
Correct. Right. The primary purpose of praying the Rosary is to enter into the presence of Christ through His mother
Mhm.
and with His mother, and really that's the only reason to do it. but
Okay, good.
really, I mean that's the reason. And you know what? You can go online if you don't know how to pray the Rosary. You don't need a book
Yeah,
to tell you how to do it.
yeah, yeah.
There's little pamphlets on it, but this book really takes that as a given. And
Okay.
actually, uh, most of the book really does talk about the spiritual nature of the
Mhm.
Rosary, but there's also these
So
kind of physiological benefits that come from it.
exactly. So there's really good, I guess, spiritual faith reasons to pray the Rosary. Everything else is a bonus, is what you're
Everything
saying.
else is a bonus, completely.
Everything else is a bonus. So here's my question then, and maybe you already answered it, because I was going to say, can you not then achieve some of those same physiological benefits from other types of prayer that, maybe I can do the Divine Mercy Chaplet or,
Absolutely.
okay, so tell me more.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think so, and I think we live in a secular society, and
Hmm.
so and without going into great detail, a lot of the studies really try to shy away from religious practice, right? So they're
Hmm. Yeah.
really, those studies are looking at meditative practices
Yeah.
from a very secular
Mindfulness. Yeah.
level, mindfulness, yada yada. But and so they steer clear when it comes to religion. They get very skittish,
Yeah.
and but if the prayer practice or the meditative practice helps to cultivate a level of devotion and stillness,
Hmm.
then you can still reap those benefits, right?
Hmm.
Because I think a big part of the whole meditative process, it's less about kind of what you're meditating on and really helping yourself to calm down,
Hmm.
helping yourself to get to a place of stillness, kind of a place of quiet. We have a lot of chatter that goes on in our heads, and the whole meditative practice is really to try to not to silence that, but to kind of become aware of it. And in becoming aware of the chatter that goes on inside your head, just by giving it just by acknowledging it, it helps to ease it and helps to kind
Hmm.
of quiet it down.
Yeah.
And so, prayer, when we're praying, you know, for me, and I think for many others as well, it's a way of it's obviously the way of communicating with God. And in that process, we become listeners. right?
Mm.
And so it helps us to kind of shut our mind off, especially if we're saying prayers like the Divine Mercy Chaplet, or we could say the Jesus Prayer or the
Right.
Sacred Heart Prayer. You're kind of like substituting all of this chatter that goes on inside your head
Hmm.
with divine words, right? With divine presence. And isn't our life so much better if we can get rid of the junk
Yeah.
that's inside of our head and
True.
replace it with the word of
True.
God or the presence of
True.
God or the
Yeah.
prayers of Jesus?
Yeah.
And so I think it's not just the rosary, but any kind of prayer and meditative practice can really get you
Yeah.
to the place.
I think a lot of people that struggle with the rosary are maybe struggling with the fact that there's a lot of things going on. That am I paying attention to the words of the prayer, or am I meditating on the mystery, or am I focusing on the intention because I'm praying for someone's health? So what would you suggest to that person?
Yeah, I think for those folks who get kind of find that as a stumbling block, just think of it as driving. When you're
Mm.
driving in the beginning, you have to like look into your mirror, you have to look at the speedometer, you have to look in front of you, you have to look in your mirrors and all of that.
Yeah.
And it's very nerve-wracking in the beginning. But over time, like doing it and just kind of like saying, you know what, I'm committing to this, I'm doing this, I'm going to become a good driver. You get to a point where you're doing all those things kind of simultaneously
Mm.
and getting to your destination. So I would look at it as almost a form of driving, or using the metaphor of driving. But yes, there's a meditative quality to it. There's the vocal prayer or the mental prayer when you're reciting the prayers.
Hmm.
There's the tactile nature of it as you're kind of like touching the
Right.
beads. You can use your imagination
Hmm.
to put yourself into the presence of whatever mystery it is. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And the more and I think then you get to your destination quicker. Not that God is necessarily a destination, but if your
Yes.
intention is, hey, you know what? I want to be in the presence of Jesus and I want to do it kind of on a unique level or a different level. The more you do it, the better you get at it, the faster, I think, or more efficiently you get to that place of
Right.
intention.
Yeah, and maybe not get so hung up on, am I doing it
And don't
right, or
get
am I
hung up
really
on it.
paying attention? If you get distracted, I think that's
Right.
okay. Focus on the repetition. There's something about the repetition that is helping us enter into a space,
Mhm.
um, and uh, and pray the rosary. Because I do think that you're saying that there are, benefits to praying the rosary that are spiritual that maybe are not there in other forms of prayer. Um, is this book for someone who is an avid rosary prayer? Is it for newbies that are hesitant about the rosary? Is it for everybody? How do you suggest people use your book?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a publisher and an editor and a writer, and so I'm always looking to do one-stop shopping for everybody, right?
Yeah,
So it's kind of
good.
like a Costco or a BJ's for one-stop shopping. So it's really written for everyone, and I think if you have, if you're someone who's experienced the praying the rosary, I think there's spiritual insight in here that's kind of garnered from a number of different writers that I think will appeal to you in a unique way.
Mm.
It also brings in some of the science, right? And that may be of interest. And for someone who's brand new, it's written in a way kind of serve as an introduction to the prayer and to the prayer. And right. So I tried to create a book that really can like
Yeah,
exist on many different levels.
yeah, I think you've done that. I mean, there's even explanations on what the mysteries are and how to pray the rosary, and the prayers are all there. So you're right; it is one-stop shopping. Um, but not to dissuade the avid rosary prayers from benefiting from the book, because there's a lot of really interesting information there that I think definitely people maybe had not thought about, particularly all the scientific and physiological stuff. So Gary, thank you for doing the work and for compiling it all for us and for explaining a little bit of it for us today.
Thank you so much, Deacon. Great to see you. Thank you.
Gary Jansen is the author of several books, including The 15-Minute Prayer Solution and Station to Station. You can check him out at garyjansen.com. His latest book, The Healing Power of Praying the Rosary, is published by Loyola Press. Here now is the Novum Collective with Behold Him, featuring Julia Lopez from their album Live in Louisville.
Behold him, behold him, your king is coming towards you.
listening to Julia Lopez with Behold Him from the Novum Collective album Live in Louisville. We first heard of the Novum Collective from Rita West, who was first featured on this program in 2018. Then in 2021, we met the man behind Novum, Will Hickl. Will Hickl is part of the duo Novum, which he shares with Eric Wilkes. And that collaboration led to a larger collaboration of artists called the Novum Collective. Several artists in that collective have been featured on this program over the years. Stephen Jobert, Kate Curran, Flynn, and of course, Rita West. And we've been listening to their latest album, Live in Louisville. And to tell us more, I'm now joined by Will Hickl. Will, welcome back to the Salt and Light Hour. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for having me again.
Okay, so I always feel like I kind of jumble up the whole Novum Collective, although I did pretty good today. But can you explain for our listeners kind of what the collective is and how it came to be?
Yeah, so I own a small Catholic record label called Novum Records, which started because I started a band called Novum. And just naturally, God kept calling us to work with more and more artists. So we were like, you know what, let's just form this into a label. So you have Novum Records, and then the sister company to that is Novum Publishing. So we do both like sheet music publishing and then of course recording. And the original band Novum, we wanted to pivot from worship to alt rock because that's what we were into. Okay. But we still wanted a way to record worship. So we said, you know what? Why don't we just create Novum Collective so that we can still record worship and then invite other Novum Records artists to do it with us and just kind of expand that mission. And so that's kind of the genesis. But now it's kind of taken its own life. There's a new leadership team who's planning more records and more live events and stuff. So it's becoming an outreach now.
Okay, so you have the recording, so Novum Records, and then is the collective artists that are being published by the record label? Is that how it works, or how does an artist join the collective?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the collective is made of the artists who make their way into the label. So I guess the pipeline would be like you come into you either join Novum Publishing as a songwriter. So we'll sign people just as songwriters. And then we'll also sign recording artists who want to actually make records. And those two kind of cohorts of people are eligible to be part of Novum Collective. But we are, we're all open to outside collaboration, right? Like if another organization wants to work with us or other artists, we've certainly done that in the past. So yeah. But in terms of like, I guess traveling with us, doing events with us, like that's going to be people that are committed to Novum. But in terms of like if we want to make a record or something with another artist,
and is the priority the writing of the music, like collaborating on songwriting? Like for example, this album that we've been listening to Live in Louisville. There's artists that are there that they all collaborate on those songs and then perform them, or is the priority also to, like you said, to travel and do events together?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so that record was kind of our first, like, hey, we really just have this goal of making a live recording with audio and video, so you can watch it on YouTube. Yeah. And so from that, we were inspired to continue the writing process, and so we're in 2025 now, so we've already recorded a new single both in English and Spanish that'll come out in April. But we have another live adoration album that we'll be recording in May, and then a live bilingual album that we'll be recording in August. So it's kind of both and, like we're prioritizing making more records, but those are all going to be live records. So we're trying to also make it an outreach of like, hey, community that we're in, come pray with us, come be a part of this. And even we're starting to do an outreach where we're like, hey, if you're a songwriter and you've got voice memos and you don't have anywhere to put them, like send them to us. We'd love to collaborate on songwriting for these projects and kind of involve more people in that way. So it's kind of, I guess, both and like live records, but also kind of trying to bring in more people to the mission.
And then do you get together to have writing sessions? Is there like a yearly or times where the collective comes together to write?
Yes. Yeah. Every year we have a retreat together. So that retreat is more reserved for like our committed Novum artists. But we are, again, as part of this new outreach mission, I know that it's on our roadmap to have open retreats, open to anybody to come collaborate with us, write with us, see what we're about.
Okay, nice. And you mentioned that there's a leadership team. So are they Like, I mean, you said that you've already are planning an adoration album, which is kind of funny because I thought this was an adoration album, but I think you're calling it a worship album, live in Louisville. Are you sort of, it's very intentional that you're thinking, okay, let's do an adoration album. Let's get everybody together to write some adoration songs. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So for this one, and again, if anyone's listening to this and they have music that they think would be fitting for adoration, please, send it our way. Our Instagram is at Novum Collective, and you can DM the guys over there to send your voice memos. But the live in Louisville, there are some songs, like especially a song like "Behold Him" is very like exposition heavy. Like "Behold Him, He's coming towards us." We praise Him. I'll praise Him. But this record is actually, when I say adoration album, I mean like we're gonna have the monstrance, the Eucharist,
like
out.
Canto Mergo and
we're gonna have actual adoration happening. It's gonna be video, but it's not gonna be an intense like stimulating video. It's gonna be one camera shot with a spotlight on Jesus, and you can barely see the band. So, and it's gonna be more acoustic. Like live in Louisville is a bit bigger production, but this is gonna be just a piano, a guitar, and vocalists, and songs that are purposely written for I'm in His presence and we're worshiping Him, we're giving Him worship.
Right. Okay, I look forward to that. Now you mentioned so Novum Publishing, so so you're publishing like the sheet music, because like songs like "Behold Him," I'm thinking like I'd love to be able to play that at church.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. So we have a great relationship with CCLI. So for anyone who works at parishes or churches, you know what that is, Song Select. So in fact, "Behold Him," if you go to Song Select and you look at the adoration, they have an adoration set list kind of suggestions, and "Behold Him" is on there. And you go to the liturgy page, you'll see Novum Publishing is listed as a trusted publisher. So we have a great relationship with them. We actually, this new single that we did in English and Spanish called "Back to Your Heart," that's releasing in April, and then the Spanish in June. The team that wrote that song actually flew out to their headquarters in February and recorded a bilingual version of that live. So, in terms of our publishing arm, we do sell sheet music on our website, novumrecords.com/publishing or novumpublishing.org. So we do have that available, and we make that. But also, like for anyone who is using those modern tools like Song Select and baking that in with Pro Presenter or Planning Center, you can find our whole catalog there. And yeah.
That's good to know. Now, I won't let you go before you tell me about this new FIO app. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yes. So because I've been working in the music industry for a while and kind of seeing the pain points of existing as a Catholic musician and not a superstar, like a pop star who gets all the attention on Spotify and Apple. I said, you know what, guys, why don't we just build our own Spotify? And so that's what FIO is. FIO is a Catholic alternative to Spotify right now. On iOS, you can stream music and podcasts, and if you have Android, sadly just podcasts for now, and eventually we'll have a web application so you can like log in on your browser at work or whatever.
Okay, nice.
But it is a native player. It's its own streaming platform. We will be paying musicians streaming royalties. We want to compete with Spotify, but we also want to offer Catholics a place where they can find things that are made by people who love the Eucharist. And it's not just worship or formation. It's like, go find a podcast on sports, go listen to rock music or pop music made by Catholics.
Okay, I see. Okay, so it's not just, so you said iOS, it's all there, music and podcasts. Android, I don't know if you mentioned, but an Android right now, you're still not, there's not
just
music yet,
podcasts,
but we're not yet. That's okay. Podcasts like the Salt and Light Hour.
It's on there. It's on there.
Very important podcast. The only one that people need to listen to.
That's right.
So that's FIO, FIO, and people can find out also on your website, novumrecords.com or FIO.
Streamfio.com.
Streamfio.com or look for FIO app on your app store.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is a lot of really good information, a lot of websites there, but don't get all confused because I think people just need to go to novumrecords.com and everything will be kind of,
you'll find it all.
Able to find it all there. Will, thank you so much for all you do. You're a busy guy. Very excited about the FIO app, and I love the music. I can't wait for this new Adoration album to come out, and so we can feature it on the show and talk more about it.
Yeah, well, thanks for your support. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and God bless.
God bless.
You can learn all about all the Novum projects at one simple website, novumrecords.com, and that's also where you can find out about the FIO, FIO app. And you can look for the Novum Collective on all your streaming platforms. Here now to take us out is Eric Wilkes with Draw Us In from the Novum Collective album, Live in Louisville.
Through him all things were made, for our salvation, for our sake crucified, our hearts guard in meditation, adored and glorified, with the hope of resurrection, the hope that's everlasting, the hope that's everlasting. Won't you come and make us one? Draw us in, draw us closer to you, Lord, to one another. Draw us in, draw us closer to you, Lord, to one another. Bring us closer to your heart, Jesus. Through him all things were made, for our salvation, for our sake crucified, our hearts guard in meditation, adored and glorified, with the hope of
We're listening to the Novum Collective featuring Eric Wilkes with Draw Us In from their album Live in Louisville. And that will take us to the end of the program today. You can listen to the full show on our website, slmedia.org, or subscribe to the Salt and Light Hour Catholic podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also listen to it on the new FIO app, FIO. You can also listen to this program on the Salt and Light Plus app. It's an easy download. That's also where you can easily watch Salt and Light TV and all our videos and documentaries. This week, let's practice praying the Rosary. Let's pray for those who need healing, those who are anxious or stressed. Let's offer a decade for the Christians in Pakistan, and let's not forget all the places where there is conflict, Ukraine and the Middle East. Let's pray for our politicians and for our bishops, and remember to pray for each other and to take care of each other. I'm Deacon Pedro, and this has been the Salt and Light Hour.